The mining ship Prospect floated in the empty darkness of space. Inside, Captain Jack Reynolds looked at the stars through the main window. His crew of 3 people and 1 AI had spent 6 months collecting ore from asteroids. They were tired and ready to go home. 3 more weeks, Jack said to himself. His voice echoed in the quiet control room. He ran a hand through his short gray hair and checked the ship's course one more time. Behind him, the door slid open with a soft hiss. Ellie, the communications officer, walked in with 2 cups of coffee. She handed one to Jack. "Thanks," he said, taking a sip of the hot drink. "Anything new?" Ellie shook her head. Her red hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. "All systems normal. Marcus is checking the ore containers. Tom is doing his security rounds." Jack nodded. It was a normal day on the Prospect, until it wasn't. Loud beep came from Ellie's station. She walked over quickly and looked at the screen. "Captain, I'm picking up a signal," she said, her fingers moving across the controls. Jack put down his coffee. "What kind of signal?" "I'm not sure. It's not human." Ellie's eyes widened. It's a distress call." Jack moved to her side. The signal pattern on the screen was unlike anything he had seen before. "Are you sure?" "Universal distress patterns are the same everywhere," Ellie said. "This is definitely a call for help. But it's coming from so far away that we shouldn't even be able to receive it." Jack pressed a button on the wall. "Marcus, Tom, come to the control room. Navi, analyze this signal." The ship's AI responded immediately. Its calm voice came from speakers in the ceiling. "Analyzing. Signal origin is approximately 2 light days from our position. The technology used to send this signal is far beyond current human capabilities." 5 minutes later, the whole crew was in the control room. Marcus, the ship's engineer, was a big man with dark skin and strong hands from years of fixing machines. Tom, the security officer, was shorter but solid, with watchful eyes that missed nothing. "Play the message," Jack ordered. A strange sound filled the room. It wasn't a language they knew, but somehow they could feel the fear in it. The sound ended with a series of coordinates. "That's impossible," Marcus said, crossing his arms. "No signal should be able to reach us from that distance, not without massive power." "What do we do, Captain?" Tom asked, his hand resting near his sidearm out of habit. Jack looked at each of his crew members. "What do you think?" Marcus shook his head. "We ignore it and go home. Our mission is done. Whatever that is, it's not our problem." "Space law says we must help ships in trouble," Ellie countered. "If that's a distress call, we have to respond." Tom shrugged. "It could be a trap. Or it could be real, hard to know." "And Navi, if we change course to check this out, how much time will it add to our journey?" Jack asked. "Minimum 2 weeks, Captain," the AI replied. "That's assuming we don't stay to help. If repairs are needed, it could be longer." Jack was quiet for a moment. Then he straightened his back. "Set course for those coordinates, Navi. We're going to check it out." Marcus groaned. "Captain, we're not equipped for first contact." "We're not making first contact," Jack said. "We're answering a call for help. There's a difference." For 3 days, the Prospect moved toward the signal's origin. The crew prepared, as best they could. Ellie studied the message, trying to understand the strange language. Marcus checked their supplies to see what they could spare for repairs. Tom made sure all weapons were ready, just in case. "We're approaching the coordinates," Navi announced on the 4th day. "Unknown object ahead." On the main screen, they saw it for the first time. It was massive, at least 20 times larger than the Prospect. The alien ship looked like nothing they had ever seen. It seemed almost alive, with a smooth, white surface that reminded Jack of bones. Crystal-like structures grew from its sides, catching the light of a distant star, but parts of the ship were damaged. Dark holes marked its surface, and a strange blue substance leaked into space like blood. "It's wounded," Ellie whispered. "Scans show the ship is made of materials not in our database," Navi reported. "The blue substance appears to be some kind of energy rather than liquid." "Are there life forms aboard?" Jack asked. Yes, approximately 200. Life signs are different from human norms. Ellie, can you establish contact? She nodded and sent a simple message in multiple formats. They waited. The answer came quickly. The main screen flickered, and then they saw them. Aliens. They were tall and thin, with skin that seemed almost see-through. They had 2 arms and legs like humans, but their faces were very different. They had large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed with inner light. No nose, just 2 small breathing holes, no visible ears. Their mouths were small and didn't move when they spoke. One stepped forward. Its voice came through the speakers, now translated by Navy into English. We are the Lumini. I am Tarl, captain of this vessel. We thank you for answering our call. Jack stepped forward. I am Captain Jack Reynolds of the mining vessel Prospect. How can we help you? Our ship was attacked, Tarl said. We escaped, but our drive system is damaged. We lack the materials to repair it. Who attacked you? Tom asked. The alien was quiet for a moment. They are called the Void by many species. They hunt, they consume, they cannot be reasoned with. Why did they attack you? Jack asked. The Lumini are peaceful explorers. We have traveled the stars for thousands of years, but the Void does not care. They attack any advanced ship they find. Marcus stepped forward. I'm the engineer. I can look at your systems, see what you need. We would be grateful, Tarl said. We can offer technology in exchange for your help. We have much that would benefit your species. Jack nodded. We'll send a team to your ship. Prepare a docking area if you can. After the screen went dark, Tom moved closer to Jack. Captain, something doesn't feel right. They're hiding something. I agree, Jack said. But they need help and we're going to give it. Just stay alert. What the humans didn't know was that the Lumini were indeed hiding something important. In their desperation, they had used what humans would later call the DeathWord, a form of quantum communication that could cross vast distances instantly. But using it came with a terrible price. In their control room, Tarl spoke quietly to his second-in-command. Did they detect our use of the forbidden signal? No, the other Lumini replied. Their technology is too primitive to understand what we did. Good. They must not know that we have brought the Void's attention to their species as well. The humans seem capable. Maybe they can help us use the weapon. And if they discover the truth? Tarl looked at the screen where the human ship floated tiny against the vastness of space. By then, it will be too late for all of us. The shuttle from the Prospect docked with the huge alien ship. Captain Jack led the team inside, along with Marcus and Tom. Ellie stayed behind to monitor communications. As the airlock opened, the humans stepped into a world they had never imagined. The corridors of the Lumini ship seemed alive. The walls glowed with soft blue light that moved like waves. The floor felt solid but somehow adjusted to their steps, making walking easier than it should be in the strange gravity. Amazing, Marcus whispered, looking around with wide eyes. His engineer's mind was trying to understand how everything worked. Tarl and 2 other Lumini were waiting for them. Up close, the aliens were even more strange. They stood nearly 7 feet tall, and their skin was so clear that Jack could see blue energy moving inside them like blood in veins. Welcome to the Star Song, Tarl said, his voice coming from a small device on his chest that translated his words. Please follow me. As they walked through the ship, the humans were silent with wonder. The Lumini technology was far beyond anything they had seen before. Doors opened without buttons. The gravity changed in different sections without any feeling of shift. Lights responded to thoughts rather than switches. How old is your civilization? Jack asked, trying to understand how advanced these beings were. We have traveled the stars for over 20,000 of your Earth years, Tarl answered. We were exploring space when your people were still making their first tools. They entered a large room that seemed to be the control center of the ship. Other Lumini worked at stations that had no visible controls. They simply moved their long fingers through the air and screens of light appeared and disappeared. I need to see the damaged sections, Marcus said, holding up his toolkit. I need to understand what needs to be fixed. Tarl nodded. Of course, I will show you. He turned to Jack. "Captain, perhaps you would like to speak with our leaders while your engineer examines our ship." Jack looked at Tom. "Go with Marcus. Keep your eyes open." Tom nodded, understanding the unspoken message. "Look for anything suspicious." Marcus followed. Tarl and another Lumini engineer to the damaged part of the ship. What he saw there made him stop in shock. The hole in the ship's hull wasn't just broken, it looked eaten. The edges were dissolved, as if something had consumed the material itself. "What did this?" Marcus asked, touching the edge carefully. With a gloved hand, the Lumini engineer's light dimmed slightly, which Marcus would later learn was a sign of fear. "The void does not just attack, it feeds. It consumed this section of our ship. We sealed the breach, but the damage goes down to the molecular level. Our repair systems cannot fix it." Marcus scanned the area with his tools. The readings made no sense. "This isn't just physical damage. The molecular structure is changed, like it was partially converted to something else." Meanwhile, Tom had wandered away from the repair team, pretending to be interested in the ship's structure. When no one was looking, he slipped down a side corridor, following his instincts. Something wasn't right about this situation, and he intended to find out what it was. He found a section of the ship that was heavily guarded by Lumini. Unlike the peaceful engineers, these Lumini carried weapons, long staffs that hummed with energy. Tom stayed hidden, watching as one guard passed a hand over a panel opening a hidden door. When the guards changed positions, Tom quickly moved forward and looked through the small window in the door. What he saw inside made his blood run cold. In the center of the room floated a sphere of what looked like pure darkness. It wasn't black. It was the absence of anything, a hole in reality itself. The sphere was contained in a field of energy, but Tom could feel its pull even from outside the room. Looking at it made his head hurt and his eyes water. He quickly took pictures with his portable scanner and sent them back to Navi on the prospect for analysis. As he turned to leave, he found himself facing two Lumini guards. "Humans are not permitted in this area," one said coldly. Back in the control center, Jack was meeting with the Lumini leaders. They showed him star maps and explained their journey. "Our homeworld is in a system far from here," an elder Lumini said. "We were on a peaceful mission of exploration when the void found us." "You mentioned this void before," Jack said. "What exactly is it?" The Lumini looked at each other, their lights pulsing in what seemed like a silent conversation. "The void is ancient," Tarl finally said. "They exist in the spaces between stars. They hunt advanced civilizations, consuming technology and energy. They cannot be reasoned with or stopped, only avoided." "Then why were you targeted?" Jack asked, noticing how the Lumini avoided answering directly. Before Tarl could answer, Jack's communicator beeped. It was Ellie from the prospect. "Captain, Navy has been analyzing the Lumini language and signals," she said, her voice tense. "There's something you need to know. The communication method they use to contact us, Navy calls it a quantum entanglement signal. It can travel instantly across any distance. That explains how we receive their signal from so far away," Jack said. "That's not all," Ellie continued. "Navi says this technology is theoretical even for the most advanced human scientists. It breaks normal space rules. But the important part is this. Navy found references in the signal to something called a DeathWord." "DeathWord?" Jack asked. "Yes. It seems this quantum signal cuts through space-time in a way that attracts attention. Bad attention. Navy thinks the Lumini knew this when they sent it." Jack looked up at Tarl, who was watching him closely. "Is this true? Did you know your distress call would bring danger to anyone who answered it?" Before Tarl could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. A Lumini rushed into the room, lights pulsing rapidly in panic. "They have found us," the Lumini cried. "The void approaches." On the main screen, space itself seemed to darken. Small points of absolute blackness appeared, moving toward their position faster than should be possible. "How many?" Tarl asked, his voice now without its usual calm. 3 ships, main vessel and 2 hunters. Jack grabbed his communicator. "Tom, Marcus, Get back to the shuttle now. Ellie, prepare the prospect for immediate departure. Tarl placed a long-fingered hand on Jack's arm. You cannot escape them, Captain. No one can. They track the DeathWord across galaxies. You knew, Jack said, understanding now. You knew they would follow your signal. You knew you were bringing this danger to whoever answered your call. Tarl's light dimmed. We were desperate. Our homeworld is already under attack by the Void. We needed to find anyone advanced enough to help us use our last weapon. What weapon? Jack demanded. At that moment, Tom was brought in by the guards. Captain, they have some kind of super weapon hidden on board, he said. I saw it. Navi is analyzing the data now. The screen showed the black ships getting closer. They were perfect spheres that seemed to swallow the starlight around them. There is no time for anger, Tarl said. The Void has found us, and now they know about humanity too. If we do not stop them here, they will follow your trail back to Earth. Your world will suffer the same fate as so many others before it. Jack looked at the approaching darkness, then back at the alien leader. You've dragged us into your war without asking. Now you'd better tell me exactly what we're facing and how to fight it. Tarl nodded slowly. The Void consumes entire worlds. Captain. And now they are coming for all of us. The black ships of the Void moved closer, perfectly round spheres that seemed to eat the light around them. On the screen in the Lumin control room, they looked like holes cut into space itself. How much time do we have? Jack asked, watching the approaching ships with growing dread. Tarl's skin pulsed with dim blue light. 1 hour, perhaps less. The Void does not hurry. It does not need to. Jack turned to his crew. Tom stood with his hand on his weapon, ready for a fight even though his face showed he knew guns would be useless against such an enemy. Marcus was looking at the ship's systems, his engineer's mind already working on solutions. We need a plan, Jack said. Any ideas? Marcus stepped forward. Captain, our mining ship has specialized equipment that the Lumini don't have. We use superheated mineral dust to find valuable metals in asteroids. How does that help us? Tom asked. If we create a field of this dust around both ships, it might hide us from their sensors. It absorbs many types of scans. It's worth trying. Jack nodded. Get on it. Take whatever help you need from the Lumini engineers. He turned to Tarl. What about this weapon Tom found? Will it work against the Void? Tarl was quiet for a moment. The nullifier was created by our ancestors as a last resort. It is designed to collapse reality itself around Void entities, trapping them in a pocket dimension from which they cannot escape. Then let's use it, Jack said. It is not so simple, Tarl replied. The weapon requires a pilot. Someone must guide it, and the feedback from using it would destroy any Lumini who tried. You mean it's a suicide mission? Tom said flatly. Tarl's light dimmed further. Yes. Our physiology cannot withstand the energy feedback we had hoped. He stopped. You hoped what? Jack pressed. We detected something unique in human biology when we scanned your ship. Your nervous systems are more resistant to certain types of energy. We believe a human might survive long enough to properly target the nullifier. Tom stepped forward angrily. So that's why you called us. You wanted human sacrifices for your weapon. We are facing extinction, Tarl said simply. We would try anything. Jack held up his hand to stop the argument. First, let's try to hide. Then we'll talk about last resorts. Marcus, get to the prospect and prepare the dust field. Tom, go with him and prepare our engines for emergency burst. We might need to run. As Marcus and Tom left for the shuttle, Jack turned to Ellie on the comlink. Ellie, I need you to access the Lumini communication systems. Learn everything you can about these Void ships and any previous encounters. Already working on it, Captain, she replied. Navi is helping me link with their historical records. There's a lot here. Jack turned back to Tarl. Show me the nullifier. I want to see this weapon for myself. The Lumini leader led Jack through the ship to the heavily guarded room Tom had discovered. Inside, the sphere of darkness floated in its energy field, making Jack's head hurt just by looking at it. What is it made of? Jack asked, fighting the urge to step back. It is not made of anything, Tarl explained. It is a hole in reality, a point where our universe touches others. When activated, it creates a bridge that can trap void entities, pulling them into a space between spaces. Back on the Prospect, Marcus worked with the Lumini engineers to modify the mining equipment. They needed to create a dust field large enough to hide both ships. Your engines will need to operate beyond safe limits, one Lumini engineer told him. The field must be created quickly before the void is too close. Marcus nodded grimly. I can push them to 150% for a short time. It will damage the systems, but that's better than being eaten by those things. As he worked, he discovered more about the Lumini technology. This engine design is amazing, he told the alien engineer. But I don't understand why you can't outrun the void with this. The Lumini touched a panel showing Marcus a diagram. The void does not travel through space as we do. It folds space around itself. Distance means nothing to it. Then how can we escape at all? We cannot. That is why the nullifier was created. Meanwhile, Ellie had established a deeper connection with the Lumini historical database. What she found horrified her. Captain, she called over the comm, I'm sending you what Navy and I found. The void isn't just hunting the Lumini, they're systematically wiping out all advanced life in this part of the galaxy. 7 civilizations have already been destroyed completely. Jack looked at the data on his portable screen. Any weaknesses? Anything that worked against them? Nothing. That lasted, Ellie replied. One species managed to destroy a void ship by detonating their sun, but 3 more void ships came later to finish the job. They're persistent. And now humanity is on their list too, just because we answered the call, Jack said grimly. Actually, it's worse, Ellie said. The records show the void seems to prioritize new species they haven't encountered before. We're now probably at the top of their list. In another part of the Lumini ship, Tom was confronting Tarl again after learning more about the nullifier. You specifically looked for humans, Tom accused. Your distress call was designed to attract a human ship. Why? Tarl's light pulsed slowly. As I told your captain, human biology is uniquely suited to withstand the nullifier's feedback at least long enough to target it properly. How did you even know about humans in the first place? We haven't met your kind before. We have observed many species from afar. Your world has been sending radio signals into space for over 100 years. We have been listening. Before Tom could respond, an alarm sounded. Marcus's voice came over the comm system. Dust field deployed. All ships power down non-essential systems. The field works best if we're running minimal energy signatures. On the screens throughout both ships, they could see the shimmering cloud of superheated particles spreading out, surrounding them in a glittering fog that blocked normal scans. For a few minutes, it seemed to work. The void ships slowed their approach, appearing confused by the sudden disappearance of their targets. It's working, Jack said with cautious hope. But then one of the black spheres began to emit a pulse of dark energy. Where the pulse touched the dust field, the particles simply vanished, leaving a clear path. They're burning away the dust, Marcus reported, his voice tight with tension. They're moving in a grid pattern, systematically eliminating our cover. How long until they break through? Jack asked. 10 minutes, maybe less. Jack turned to Tarl. We need to prepare the nullifier. Even if we don't use it, we need to be ready. As they rushed back toward the weapon room, a terrible sound echoed through the ship. A high-pitched screech that made everyone cover their ears in pain. What is that? Jack shouted over the noise. Tarl's light had dimmed to almost nothing, a sign of extreme fear. They found us. On the main screen, they watched in horror as one of the void ships broke through the dust field. It moved directly to the Lumini vessel and attached itself to the hull. Where it touched, the ship's material began to dissolve, eaten away by the black sphere. At the same time, a smaller object detached from the main void ship and shot away from them, accelerating rapidly. What is that? Jack asked, pointing at the small object. A probe, Tarl said, his voice hollow. It carries information about new species it encounters. It's heading toward your home system. The Void now knows about Earth. Jack felt cold fear grip his heart. How long until it reaches Earth? At that speed, perhaps 3 of your weeks. Jack looked at his crew, then at the dissolving section of the Lumini ship. 3 weeks. That's all the time humanity has to prepare for what's coming. He took a deep breath. Unless we stop it here. Alarms blared throughout both ships as the Void continued to eat through the Lumini vessel's hull. Captain Jack watched the screen showing the damage spreading like a disease through the beautiful alien ship. We need to evacuate your people. To the Prospect, Jack told Tarl. How many can we fit, Navi? The AI's voice came through his communicator. The Prospect can hold approximately 50 additional passengers in emergency conditions, Captain. The Lumini crew number's over 200. Jack looked at Tarl. Do you have escape pods? Yes, the alien leader replied. Enough for most of our crew, but the Void will hunt them down one by one unless we stop it here. Then we need to use the nullifier, Jack said firmly. How much time until the Lumini ship is completely consumed? Navi calculated quickly. At current rate of consumption, approximately 5 hours and 43 minutes. And that probe heading to Earth? Can we catch it? Negative, Captain. It is already moving faster than the Prospect can achieve. However, at its current speed, it will take 3 weeks and 2 days to reach Earth. Jack nodded. So we have a small window to warn humanity. He turned to Tarl. Start evacuating your people. Anyone who can't fit on the escape pods comes to the Prospect. As the Lumini crew began to evacuate, Jack gathered his team in a quiet corner of the control room. Marcus, Tom, and Ellie, via communicator, listened as he outlined what they knew. The Void is consuming the Lumini ship. A probe is heading toward Earth. We have the nullifier weapon that might stop the Void, but using it requires someone to pilot it, likely a one-way trip. The Lumini planned this, Tom said angrily. They wanted us to sacrifice ourselves for their weapon. Maybe, Jack admitted. But right now, Earth is in danger. That's what matters. Marcus had been quiet, thinking deeply. Captain, what if we didn't need a human pilot? What if we could use Navi? Everyone looked at him in surprise. Explain, Jack said. The nullifier needs a consciousness to guide it, right? Navi is an artificial intelligence. If we connected Navi's quantum processing core to the nullifier, maybe it could target the weapon without a human pilot. Ellie's voice came through the comm. I've asked Navi about this possibility. Navi calculates a 12% chance of preserving core programming through the process. Those aren't good odds, Tom said. Better than certain death for all of us, Marcusy replied. And better than asking someone to sacrifice themselves. Jack considered this. Navy, are you willing to try this? I am programmed to protect human life, Captain, the AI responded. If there is a chance to save Earth, I must take it. Then let's do it. Marcus, work with the Lumini scientists to rig the connection. We don't have much time. For the next hour, Marcus and several Lumini engineers worked frantically to create an interface between Navi's core systems and the nullifier. The work was complex, combining 2 completely different technologies that were never meant to work together. Meanwhile, Jack helped coordinate the evacuation. The Lumini escape pods launched one after another, heading away from the Void ships. Most of the aliens had evacuated, with 30 remaining to board the Prospect. The interface is ready, Marcus reported finally. But we'll need to physically connect Navi's core to the nullifier. Someone needs to carry it into the chamber. I'll do it, Jack said. The plan was set. They would evacuate everyone to the Prospect and the remaining escape pods. Tom would pilot the mining ship to a safe distance. Marcus would prepare Navi's core for transfer. Jack would carry the core to the nullifier and make the final connection. As they prepared to leave the Lumini ship, a terrible sound filled the corridors, the shriek of tearing metal. The Void had eaten through to a new section of the ship. We need to hurry, Tarl warned. Once it reaches the central core, the ship will begin to collapse. They rushed toward the docking bay where the Prospect waited. The remaining Lumini were boarding the human ship, their lights pulsing with fear. Marcus carried Navi's core, a small glowing cube that contained the AI's primary systems. Suddenly, black tendrils shot through a nearby wall. They moved like living things searching the corridor. One tendril touched a Lumini, who screamed as his body began to dissolve into black dust. "Run!" Jack shouted. They sprinted down the corridor, the tendrils pursuing them. Tom fired his weapon at them, but the energy pulses passed straight through the black material without effect. One tendril wrapped around Tom's leg, pulling him toward the wall that was now melting into a pool of darkness. Jack grabbed Tom's arms, pulling against the tendril's strength. "Let go, Captain," Tom yelled. "Get to the ship." "Not leaving you behind," Jack grunted, straining against the pull. Marcus put down Navi's core and grabbed a piece of broken metal from the deteriorating ship. He swung it at the tendril, which surprisingly split apart where the metal hit it. Tom fell forward, free of its grip. But as Jack helped Tom up, he felt something cold touch his back. Looking down, he saw a small spot of black ichor on his suit. It was spreading slowly, eating through the material toward his skin. "Captain?" Marcus noticed the spreading blackness. "Don't worry about it," Jack said, picking up Navi's core. "Get to the ship." They reached the prospect, just as another section of the Lumini ship collapsed. The airlock closed behind them, and Tom rushed to the control room to detach from the dying alien vessel. In the medical bay, Ellie examined the black spot on Jack's back. It had reached his skin and was spreading into his blood vessels, creating dark lines that crept slowly toward his heart. "How bad?" Jack asked, seeing her worried face. "I don't know," she admitted. "It's like nothing I've ever seen. It's changing your cells." Marcus entered the medical bay. "The Lumini scientists say it's void essence. They've seen it before. It will spread through your system and—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "How long?" Jack asked simply. "Hours, maybe less, before it reaches vital organs." Jack nodded, accepting this news with surprising calm. "Then we have no choice. I'll pilot the nullifier myself." "Captain, no," Ellie protested. "I'm already infected," Jack said, standing up. "This way my death means something. Navi can help guide me, but I need to be the one to do this." The Abi prospect had pulled away from the Lumini ship, but remained close enough for a shuttle trip back. The void ships were still attached to the alien vessel, consuming it piece by piece. "The nullifier is still functional," Tarl reported, "but we must act quickly before the void discovers its purpose." Jack looked at his crew, his friends. "Tom, you're captain now. Get these people to safety and warn Earth. Marcus, make sure Navi's core is ready. Ellie—" He took her hand. "Thank you for always finding the right words." Tears filled Ellie's eyes. "This isn't fair." "Few things are," Jack replied with a small smile. "But humans don't give up, even when the odds are impossible. That's what makes us different." He picked up Navi's core and headed to the shuttle bay. From the comm system, Navi spoke. "I have calculated the optimal targeting sequence, Captain. I will guide you through the process." As Jack boarded the shuttle, Tarl approached him. "Your sacrifice will not be forgotten, human. You save not just your people, but many worlds." Jack nodded. "Just make sure it counts." The shuttle door closed, and Jack looked one last time at his crew through the window. The dark lines had spread further up his neck, and he could feel a cold numbness creeping through his body. "Ready, Navi?" he asked as the shuttle launched toward the dying Lumini ship. "Ready, Captain," the AI replied. "If I don't survive this process, it has been an honor serving with you." Jack smiled despite the pain. "The honor was mine, old friend. Let's go make some history." The shuttle flew toward the massive alien ship, now half consumed by the black spheres of the void. Inside, Jack carried humanity's last hope, and perhaps its first warning to a universe filled with ancient, hungry predators. Humans fight back. Jack guided the small shuttle through the debris field that had once been parts of the magnificent Lumini ship. The black lines of the void's infection had spread up his neck and onto his face. His left arm was growing numb, but he pushed forward, focused on the mission. Approaching docking point, Navi announced from the core that sat in Jack's lap. The nullifier chamber is still intact, but the void will detect our presence soon. Then we'd better be quick, Jack said, his voice raspy as the infection spread. The shuttle docked with the remains of the alien ship. Jack put on a breathing mask. Parts of the Lumin vessel had lost atmosphere, and moved carefully into the empty corridors. The ship felt dead, the beautiful living walls now dark and still. 200 meters ahead, Navi guided him. The chamber should be sealed against the void's intrusion. As Jack walked, he could feel the void's presence all around him. Walls had been eaten away, leaving strange, perfect holes that seemed to lead into absolute nothingness. The ship groaned and shifted as more of its structure was consumed. "How are the others?" Jack asked, wanting to think about something besides his failing body. "The prospect has moved to a safe distance," Navi replied. "All Lumini escape pods have cleared the danger zone. Tom is preparing for emergency lightspeed jump once our mission is complete." Jack nodded. "Good." They reached the sealed door of the nullifier chamber. It was still guarded by the Lumini security system, but Tarl had given Jack the codes. He pressed his hand against the panel, and the massive door slid open. Inside, the nullifier floated in its containment field, a perfect sphere of darkness that hurt Jack's eyes to look at directly. The room hummed with power, the last functioning system on the dying ship. "How do we do this?" Jack asked, approaching the control panel. "The interface Marcus created needs to be connected to both my core and the nullifier's control systems," Navi explained. "Then you must initiate the targeting sequence and release the containment field." Jack set Navi's core on the main console and connected it using the interface Marcus had built. The core glowed brighter as it linked with the alien technology. "Connection established," Navi announced. "I am accessing the nullifier systems now. It is remarkable technology, far beyond human understanding." "Can you make it work?" Jack asked, leaning against the console as a wave of pain shot through him. "Yes. The targeting system requires conscious direction. I will guide it, but you must be the one to release it, Captain." Suddenly the ship shook violently. On a nearby screen, Jack could see one of the void ships moving toward their position. "They've detected us," Navi said. "We have minutes at most." Jack moved to the main control panel where Tarl had shown him the release mechanism. It required a living being's touch, a final safety measure. "What happens when we activate it?" Jack asked. "According to the Lumini data, the nullifier creates a pocket dimension, a space between spaces. It will pull in everything within its targeting range, collapsing that section of reality and sealing it away forever." Jack took a deep breath. "And what happens to us?" Navi was silent for a moment. "The Lumini records are unclear. No one has ever survived to report what it feels like." "Well," Jack said with a weak smile, "we're about to find out." He established a communication link with the prospect. Ellie's face appeared on the screen, worried and afraid. "Captain, the void ships are moving toward your position." "We're ready, Ellie," Jack said calmly. "Navi and I are about to activate the nullifier. You need to get as far away as possible." "We're at minimum safe distance according to Tarl," she replied. "Jack, Her voice broke. "It's okay," he said. "Tell the others it's been an honor, and make sure Earth is ready for what's coming." "We will," she promised, tears in her eyes. Jack turned to Navi's core. "Ready, old friend?" "Targeting systems locked on all 3 void ships," Navi confirmed. "Ready when you are, Captain." Jack placed his hand on the release mechanism. The ship shook again, more violently this time. The void was getting closer. "Let's show these cosmic horrors what humans can do," Jack said. He pressed down firmly and the mechanism clicked into place. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the nullifier's containment field began to pulse. The sphere of darkness grew larger, its edges becoming unstable. "Nullifier activated," Navi announced. "Targeting sequence initiated." Jack felt a strange pulling sensation, as if his very atoms were being tugged in impossible directions. The nullifier was now a swirling vortex of darkness that filled half the chamber. "It's beautiful," Jack whispered, watching patterns of light and shadow dance at the edges of the absolute darkness. "Captain, your vital signs are fluctuating," Navi said with concern. "The process is affecting you at a quantum level." "Keep it on target," Jack ordered, feeling his consciousness beginning to fragment. The black infection lines were glowing, now resonating with the nullifier's energy. Through the ship's exterior cameras, Jack could see the void ships being pulled toward them. They seemed to be struggling, trying to escape the pull of the nullifier, but the gravity-like force was too strong. 30 seconds to complete containment. Navi counted down. Jack's vision was splitting now, as if he was seeing from multiple places at once. He could see the prospect at a safe distance. He could see Earth, though he knew it was impossible. He could see strange landscapes that no human had ever witnessed. "What's happening to me?" he asked, his voice sounding distant to his own ears. "The void infection in your system is interacting with the nullifier's field," Navi explained. "Your consciousness is becoming entangled with the pocket dimension we're creating." The first void ship made contact with the nullifier and began to break apart, its perfect black surface cracking to reveal a strange, shifting matter underneath. The other ships were being dragged in now too, unable to escape. 10 seconds, Navi announced. "Captain, it's been an honor serving with you." Jack smiled, though he wasn't sure if his physical body was still capable of the expression. "Goodbye, Navi. Take care of them." The nullifier reached its peak power. The darkness expanded to fill the entire chamber. Jack felt himself coming, apart and coming together at the same time. His last thought was of Earth, of home, of the strange journey that had brought him here. Then there was a silent flash that somehow created a new star where none had existed before. And then nothing. 3 weeks later, the life pods from both ships were picked up by an Earth military vessel that had responded to their distress call. The crew of the Prospect, minus their captain, along with the Lumini survivors, were brought back to Earth. At first, the governments of Earth were skeptical of the alien threat, but when astronomical observations confirmed that several distant stars had vanished exactly as described in the Lumini records, preparations for defense began in earnest. The Lumini, now refugees, offered their advanced technology in exchange for sanctuary. They helped humanity upgrade their defenses and detection systems, preparing for the day when the void would return. Scientists also discovered more about the DeathWord, the quantum signal that had drawn the void in the first place. Elements of the technology were found in experimental Earth communication systems, which were immediately shut down. 6 months later, as the first line of Earth defense stations neared completion, sensors detected a small ship approaching the solar system. It was unlike anything seen before. Parts of it resembled the Prospect, while others clearly used Lumini technology. Defense ships surrounded it, ready to attack, but held their fire when they received a transmission in a familiar voice. "Earth. Defense Command. This is Jack Reynolds. I'd like to come home, please." When the ship docked at the space station, the crew of the Prospect was there to meet it. But the man who emerged was both Jack and not Jack. His body seemed normal, but his eyes held stars in them. When he moved, he sometimes left trails in the air, as if he existed in multiple places at once. "How?" Ellie asked when she could finally speak. "I don't really understand it myself," Jack said, his voice sometimes echoing slightly before his lips moved. "The nullifier didn't destroy me. It changed me. I exist partly outside normal space-time now. I can see the void's movements across the galaxy." In the following weeks, Jack revealed what he had learned during his transformation. The void was not random or natural. It was an ancient, coordinated entity that harvested evolved civilizations when they reached a certain level of advancement. The probe had been destroyed in the nullifier's blast, but Jack knew more would come. Earth had perhaps 2 years to prepare. The scientists studying Jack's condition made a breakthrough. Using his unique perception and the Lumini technology, they found a way to create smaller, more controllable versions of the nullifier. In a meeting with Earth's leaders, Tarl expressed shock at humanity's response to the threat. In our thousands of years of history, no species has ever considered hunting the void, the Lumini said. All have only tried to hide or flee. That's the difference, Jack said, his starry eyes gleaming. You called for help using a word that brings death, but where you saw only doom, we saw a challenge. That's what humans do. We take death words and turn them into battle cries. 1 year later, the newly constructed warship Defiance prepared for its maiden voyage with Jack as its navigator. As the ship's engines powered up, Jack sent a final message to Earth. The void has been consuming civilizations for millions of years. They've never had to hunt something that hunts back. Let's show them what that feels like. The Defiance disappeared into the darkness between stars, carrying humanity's answer to the universe's oldest predator. The hunt had begun.